We welcome Mr. Somesh Gupta, who is an ex-Infosys and is now working in Blockdigest. Today, he will be enlightening us all on the topic use cases of the blockchain. He is an influential speaker and have impressive work published all around the world. So today, I welcome him, and sir, please take this time and enlighten us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kanika. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So first of all, Shat Naman to all the gurus who are here, and utmost respect for all the teachers around. Just to introduce myself, been associated with Infosys for 25 years now. Before that, I did my engineering from IIT BHU and MBA in finance from IIM Calcutta. I've been in the blockchain space for close to 7 years. Let me quickly share my screen. Ms. Kanika, let me know once you are able to see my screen.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir. Visible.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Visible.
Yes,
Thank
it is visible.
So Blockdigest.com is a very popular website that does work in blockchain space. So what I'm going to talk about today is how the blockchain technology is the next frontier and among the Horizon 2 technologies. What are the key properties and limitations? These two areas are primarily a recap of what you have already gone through last 4 days. I understand all of you have had some kind of hands-on on Ethereum stack as well. You've gone through Truffle, you've gone through Remix, Solidity programming, you've deployed some smart contracts, you've looked at different blockchain stacks and so on and so forth. Then I would be talking about a very popular blockchain use cases evaluation framework and how to say whether a use case in particular is suitable to blockchain. And then I'm planning to cover, time permitting, 4 particular use cases. One on international trade finance, how the system works before application of blockchain, how it works in some of the developed economies and here in India once part of the processes are automated using blockchain, and then how some of those processes in international trade finance are getting enhanced through the use of smart contracts properties of blockchain. Then I'd be talking about syndicated loan servicing and $1 billion plus loans, how they are syndicated currently, and how blockchain is changing those spaces. Then I'll be talking about parametric crop insurance and how crop insurance can be automated using blockchain, and then an example of a new area developing called flight delay insurance and automated processing of that. And then I talk about use cases, typical use cases in retail, in healthcare, education, government, some of those sectors. Few ground rules, only 2 ground rules. Number 1, no question is wrong, only answers can be wrong. So feel free to ask me questions at any point through this presentation. If I'm not covering that particular space in my subsequent slides, I would go ahead and answer it there. If I'm covering it in further slides, I would go ahead and point you to those slides. Second is, please let's make it more interactive. While I am writing a couple of books, course books on blockchain, I think there's a space where all of us have to learn a lot from each other, and let's make it as interactive as possible. Good to go, Mayank sir, Kanika ma'am?
Yes, sir. Very perfect, sir.
Okay. So I call blockchain the next frontier. Those of you who have studied computer science realize that von Neumann was a pioneer in the field of general computers, and the von Neumann architecture of storing data and instructions in the same place gave birth to general purpose computers. Blockchain, in my view, is a different paradigm altogether. When von Neumann kind of gave that paradigm, at that time, network was not in play. Blockchain is a different paradigm whereby data, instructions, which is program, called smart contracts in blockchain language, and network, all are enmeshed together and are together in the same space. If you look at any other technology, it doesn't provide that kind of paradigm. There are different reports by some of the very well-known and respected analysts and organizations that say about 10% of world's GDP would pass through blockchain-based systems by 2030, which would add something like 3.1 trillion to the world's GDP by 2030, and that's about 3 times of India's GDP today. 90% of government organizations across plan to invest in blockchain technology. More than 20 countries are working on blockchain-based national currencies, or what are called CBDCs. While we have seen some application of blockchain in business-to-business space, some of it has trickled down to business-to-consumer space. I do believe that government-to-citizens interaction would be completely revolutionized through the use of blockchain. Across different domains, blockchain again can kind of give significant benefits. For example, healthcare, supply chain, banks, infra, and so on and so forth. Hence, the opportunity is obvious. The jobs are growing multifold. However, earlier this year, Niti Aayog published a report that said there are less than 10,000 blockchain developers across the world, compared that to about 36 million IT workers in India, right? The developer demand is growing by 33x in 2019, and by a significant number this year. Blockchain jobs pay 20 to 80% higher, and hence the opportunity is obvious. Now, having said that, let me kind of define blockchain or redefine blockchain for you. Blockchain is nothing but a distributed digital ledger, a ledger that has been used by India's baniyas, banks world over. It's digitized, and then it exists on a distributed network like the one shown here, on a P2P or peer-to-peer network, which is quite different from client-server architecture that most of us are used to, that provides an immutable database of transactions. So it does not store master data. It does not store reference data. It stores transaction data. Those of you who teach in computer science, and the database is immutable. You cannot edit, you cannot delete from the database. Hence, it facilitates transfer and storage of value in digital form. Now, what are the properties? You have already seen this. It's on a peer-to-peer network where data is, while it is called distributed, the data actually is replicated on all nodes of the network. And we are talking of full nodes, those of you who already understand blockchain, and not the SPV kind of models. There's a linked history of data or backward linked list in computer science jargon. There's transaction data that is linked to each other through the hash of the previous header of the previous block. It's supported by some of very strong, very simple but strong cryptographic primitives, and I understand you have had a session on that. All the transaction data as well as metadata is practically encrypted. There are 3 or 4 very strong cryptographic primitives that are used. There's practically nothing that's unencrypted in blockchain space. And as I said earlier, blockchain has programmable contracts, programmable currency, if you will, in Bitcoin space, for example. Platforms like Ethereum provide fully programmable capabilities, and these programs called smart contracts. There are some platforms, for example, multi-chain. You've had a session on multi-chain on AWS, I understand. Does not provide smart contracts. Bitcoin provides limited smart contracts and so on and so forth. But any blockchain worth its name now provides smart contracts, which are nothing but programs on blockchain, executed through their own virtual machines. The data is immutable. The data is immutable. I talked about this. It's a trustless system. The system that Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he, she, or they are, designed it to be a trustless system, whereby in public blockchain space, you don't even need to know whether the other person is trusted party or not. And you can go ahead with that. In private blockchain space or enterprise blockchain space, of course, you have certain amount of trust inbuilt, but is not needed. It provides complete traceability and audibility because there's a linked history of data that, combined with immutability of data, means right from the origin, you have complete traceability and auditability, which brings in certain challenges. I talk about those. And it was primarily built as a solution to double spending. Would like to pause here for a few seconds and see if any participant has any comments. Mike sir, is this space okay?
Sir, perfectly fine, sir.
Mm-hmm. I think on the chat window there's a question. Mike sir, would it be possible for you to read it?
Yes, sir. Could you please show us some light on video/image related use case which may not be a good candidate of a storing in database?
Okay. That kind of provides me a segue to the next slide. Let me just talk about it at that point in time. So, like all IT systems, blockchain has its own limitations. Most of the so-called experts that you talk to would probably go all out to praise blockchain and blockchain-based systems. And like any beauty pageant, Miss World or Miss Universe pageants, they would claim that it can solve all the world's problems, including world hunger. However, the technology does have its underside and its limitations, and I want to spend a few minutes on that. It's a very complex technology. It's a sophisticated technology. It has new vocabulary. You need understanding of cryptography. You need different set of development skills to tackle blockchain. It is a fundamentally new technology, not like AR, VR, or machine learning, deep learning, AI, autonomous vehicles, which are linear progressions of the technology paradigms that most people are familiar with. It's a new technology altogether because network is closely enmeshed with programming, with data, with cryptography. The throughput, the transaction per second capability of blockchains by design is very, very low. A VisaNet system that I personally worked on handles about 2,000 to 10,000 transactions per second worldwide. All the Visa traffic, all the MasterCard traffic, all the Discover traffic, all goes through VisaNet. Similarly, other payment networks, they have similar kind of capabilities. Blockchain, most public blockchains can handle 7 to 10 transactions per second. Ethereum, with its latest Ethereum 2.0, is moving towards higher throughput, but I don't expect that throughput to be more than, let's say, 100 to 200 transactions per second in its best state. Private blockchains are like private networks, VPN networks, and hence they have the capability to handle much more throughput. A Hyperledger based network can handle few hundreds, multi-chain claims that it can handle 2,000 transactions per second, but those have limited applicability and have not been battle tested. The confirmation time is long. So Bitcoin, which is the biggest industrial grade blockchain and has withstood 11 years so far, in the most ideal state, you need to wait for 60 minutes or 1 hour to say that your payment transaction has gone through, which is sub-second in case of Visa network. Ethereum does a much better job, and you in the most ideal case, you can say within 90 seconds, a transaction is confirmed. In practical scenario, when the fees are low, the confirmation times can be even longer. So blockchains cannot be used as OLTPs on online transaction processing systems. The data storage on blockchain is very, very low. Blockchain per se does not store much data. There are technologies that have developed, for example, Swarm database or interplanetary file system along with Ethereum, that can store data, and you can kind of say that the data is similar to what the proof of which is on blockchain, but blockchain by its very nature cannot store a lot of data. So a blockchain, or specifically a public blockchain, is useless as a data storage mechanism. Cannot be, should not be used for things like video or image, storing video or images. All that you can store on a public blockchain is the hash, 256-bit hash of the data, to make sure that, to provide a confidence that the data has not changed since the time you stored it. A private blockchain, because it's private, it's enterprise, you can practically do anything, right? But there also, you have to have the data stored in a separate database. For example, Hyperledger uses Couch database, just as an example, right? Ethereum private space, you can download IPFS instance and you can use the data. Data bloating is another big issue, and hence the whole concept of lightweight nodes or SPV nodes have come through. Bitcoin today consumes about 0.3% of world's electricity. That is good enough to light a complete Nordic country, a Switzerland, a Finland, a Norway. So the complete electricity consumption of Norway is equivalent to what Bitcoin today consumes. Ethereum is moving in a direction through staking mechanism where this problem would be resolved, but it has taken Ethereum 5.5 years after its initial commitment to come any closer to that goal. Immutability provides a lot of problem. You cannot have much privacy, or privacy is not inbuilt in blockchain. Most blockchains provide a bolt-on privacy layer. There are a lot of private blockchain spaces, ecosystems, stacks like Hyperledger. So Hyperledger Fabric, for example, provides you certification authority, but that kind of removes the trustless nature and the distributed nature, compromises the distributed nature of blockchain itself. It also, you cannot comply with a lot of privacy regulations that exist today. For example, your right to forget is incompatible with blockchains. Blockchain is highly dependent on cryptography, and now we are seeing some developments in quantum computing. We are talking of sub-second processing for calculations that were earlier possible in billions of years, and hence all of that threatens blockchains. Blockchains are built on what is called public cryptography primitive, or asymmetric cryptography, or public-private keys, which is not amenable to quantum computing. There are two algorithms, Shor's and Grove's algorithms, which, if possible in quantum computing, would break not only blockchain, but most of the password mechanism, the privacy mechanism, the encryption mechanism that we have today. The only thing that can survive is the symmetric key cryptography. So if the cryptographic primitives are hacked, then the very basis of blockchains gets compromised. The change in governance is very difficult. Change management is an extremely sophisticated concept in blockchains. And if you have to kind of understand the lens that some of the private blockchains or privacy-focused blockchains go through, the pains go through, look at the example of what Zcash goes through every time it changes its versions. It's a worldwide ceremony. Inter-blockchain communication is still an emerging area, and hence you have different blockchain stacks that exist in isolation. It's still an evolving technology. A lot is happening, and hence by the time you master it, there are new concepts that come in. And public blockchains, of course, have this 51% attack or concentration risk possible. And we've seen that in Ethereum Classic, for example, went through 51% attack a month back. And blockchains technology, while it is joined at the hip with cryptocurrencies, the two are different. And the cryptocurrencies are the more glamorous, more sexy kind of technology, and blockchain has not got its due so far. So those are the limitations. There was this question on storing video and image files. Has that question been answered? Mike sir, are we okay? Should we go ahead? Okay. Now, a question with so many limitations and so many advantages, do we really need to go through blockchain? So this is a framework for evaluating blockchain use cases that was initially developed by World Economic Forum Davos and was adapted by Niti Aayog in its report earlier this year. I'm going to present that. So you have a use case, you want to know whether blockchain can be applied to it, or should it be implemented on blockchain. So first question to ask, are there multiple parties involved in your use case? If they are no, if you have a single party, if you trust the party, there are no multiple party interactions, do not use blockchain. If yes, do you need to remove intermediaries from your workflow? No, there's no need to remove intermediaries. Your workflow is efficient. Don't use blockchain. Blockchain most probably is an overhead, an overkill in that case. Yes. Are you working with digital identifiers, digital assets instead of physical assets? Because remember, blockchain has no physical avatar. It's all digital. So if you are using, for example, to store information about all the mobiles in the world, you can't directly do that on blockchain. You have to identify each mobile phone. Thankfully, there are numbers like IMEI numbers that can be used to identify each individual cell phone. Now, if you are using blockchain to identify land parcels, you have to give a unique identification to each land parcel, and you have to have a digital identifier for that. So if you're not working with digital identifiers, can you couple digital and physical assets with a permanent and authenticated record of proof? No. There is possibility that you cannot assign a one-to-one permanent digital identifier with your physical asset. You should not use blockchain. If you already have a digital identifier, you're working with the digital asset, or you can identify it uniquely with a physical asset, then you can proceed. And check if multiple parties need shared write access. Blockchain kind of allows you to write shared in a shared manner. If multiple parties don't need shared write access, blockchain is useless to you, right? You have all kinds of mechanisms, broadcast mechanisms that are available where only one party writes and other parties listen, or other parties read, or other parties view. You don't need blockchain. Blockchain is a distributed database where there's shared write access. It's a peer-to-peer network. Yes? Do you require to store non-transactional data? Yes. Blockchains can't do this efficiently yet. A master data, a reference data, a permanent data, blockchains really don't provide you the efficiency, though you can store them. If you require to store transaction data, do you require high performance, high TPS? Yes, blockchains again can't efficiently do that. As I said, blockchains are not very good as OLTPs. If no, then do you need the ability to control the functionality yourself? If yes, you have a very strong case for a private blockchain, a private instance of Ethereum, a multi-chain, a Hyperledger Fabric, Neo, all those new blockchains, a private instance of Bitcoin, all those you can use. No? Do you want your transactions to be private? If you want your transactions to be private, your private blockchains provide good privacy overlay or privacy bolt-on, and hence you would still should go for a private blockchain. If privacy is not such a big concern, you have a strong case for public blockchain. So this is the way to evaluate whether your use case is suitable for a public blockchain, a private blockchain, or implementing it on blockchain would give you any benefit or not. Now, blockchain is a horizontal technology. It is not associated with finance. It's just like database is a horizontal technology, programming is a horizontal technology, network is a horizontal technology, so is blockchain. And hence, blockchain can be used across industries. Can be used in finance, insurance, retail, logistics, education, real estate, manufacturing, healthcare, government, and so on and so forth. So before I move to the next slide, Mayank sir, if you want to kind of unmute people and see if there are any questions, comments, discussion points.
Done, sir. Done, sir. Done, sir. Done. Participants are allowed to unmute if they wish. Though
Okay.
I can see
From Champak sir, there is a question on blockchain and big data. Champak sir, would you like to elaborate on the question?
Champak sir, kindly unmute yourself. No, you can unmute also.
Hello, am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I see that this is more of the Spark and Hadoop and all these are going on. Some data is big data, right? So I just say IoT devices, a lot of sensor data comes to it. Now, that data may need to be for storing it, right? And authentic.
Sorry, sir, I had to mute him because there was a lot of noise.
So I will try and answer that question.
What is the application between blockchain and big data? I think he's asking.
Sure. So let's understand what is big data, right? And so big data is nothing but a huge amount of data to be processed. Number one. Number two, the data in stream is practically continuous. The data keeps coming in. And number three, the data needs to be analyzed in real time. And hence, some of the companies and developers have developed these algorithms, map-reduce algorithms, they are called, and they are codified in the collection of technologies such as Hadoop, Spark, etc., where you need to analyze the data, and you kind of divide the work and quickly analyze it in real time, right? The problem is very trivial if you don't need to analyze it in real time. Blockchain you can use to analyze big data or huge quantities of data. However, it is very, very difficult to do it in real time. So big data or the technologies like Hadoop and Spark, imposing blockchain on them or implementing MapReduce kind of algorithms on blockchain do not give you any real benefit. You need OLTP systems to analyze that data. See, blockchain is nothing but a database on a network with shared write access, and that data is replicated across all nodes of the blockchain in a guaranteed manner. And that data does not ever get deleted, right? Now, with that definition of blockchain or that understanding of blockchain, you can understand that anything that needs to be done real fast, in real time, you need a lot of parallel processing. And blockchain is anti-thematic to parallel processing. Blockchain has a huge amount of redundancy built in to ensure that there is guarantee of a golden view across the network to all participants, that there is complete visibility of data to all the participants. There's replication of data, and it takes time to replicate that data. So blockchain is anti to parallel processing. It's unparalleled processing or duplicated processing. Now there are there's research happening on sharding, applying sharding techniques to blockchain. Of course, Vitalik Buterin and his team in Ethereum Foundation is leading some of that or application of that. However, that's only a partial solution to the problem. And I don't expect OLTP kind of performance even after applying sharding to blockchains. A public blockchain would most probably be able to give you only hundreds of or sub-100 transactions per second in the best scenario, unless you are ready to compromise with some other aspects of blockchain, and sharding does. So big data, very bad idea to process it on blockchain. Hope that answers the question. Any other questions, comments? Mayank sir?
No, sir, I can't see any other in the, there is only one question which can be seen, that is, can we use AI in blockchain?
Oh, yes. So blockchain is the ultimate AI. What is artificial intelligence? artificial intelligence is I'll come to the machine learning part, but artificial intelligence by definition is working of a computer system similar to human brain on its own, decision making on its own. By that definition, blockchain is the ultimate in AI. It produces money on its own, produces digital assets on its own. Nobody controls it, right? And money is the ultimate currency, right? There's nothing bigger than money in the physical world. Of course, God is bigger, but keeping God aside, right? So by that definition, blockchain can be considered a part of artificial intelligence. However, if you go to the conventional definition of blockchain, it is applying machine learning techniques. If you go to the classical or conventional definition of AI, it is applying machine learning algorithms to make decisioning better and better, and hence create self-learning systems. Blockchain is not and cannot be a self-learning system. It is extremely, extremely difficult to apply blockchain to self-learning systems. Deep learning is virtually impossible. Machine learning, while it is possible, it is extremely slow and totally useless. Hope that answers both those questions. Can blockchain reduce the use of AI in international trade finance? That's an interesting one. International trade finance, there's hardly any AI. It's a extremely physical document-based system so far for hundreds of years. And document is the proof of delivery. So I do not think there is much of AI in international trade finance, and we'll talk of international trade finance in a moment. Yeah, so in that sense, I don't think there's a lot of AI in international trade finance, and hence I'm not sure if there was one question before the smart grid question. Supply chain, I would talk about supply chain related use cases shortly. Smart grid, what do we mean by smart grid? What do you want to say when you talk of smart grid? You talk of electricity grids, computing grids. What kind of smart grids are you talking about? Energy distribution, yes. So energy distribution grids or microgrids or smart microgrids, blockchain is huge on it. There are, so all this renewable energy has created, so people now are producers of electricity. For example, I have rooftop solar power plant, and all my excess energy I would like to kind of pass it on to a grid and want credit for it, and in a trustworthy manner. Blockchain is being utilized for this. Yes, blockchain also is being utilized for regional grids integrated to national grids, whereby you kind of, today, a lot of energy production and consumption patterns on these grids is what drives the frequency and switching on and off the power plants, or bringing plants onto the grid and consuming units onto the grid. And a lot of that can be automated and is being automated in smart grids, and blockchain again is a big use case there. So yes, smart grids, blockchain is highly applicable. Okay, I hope that answers those questions except the supply chain one. Mine, sir, with your approval, I'd move to some of the use cases.
No, sir, please, sir, no need of any approval, sir. You are the master for this session, sir. Please, please, please.
Okay, sir. We talked about this. Okay, international trade finance. Let's look at what the current process is. You have a buyer, you have a seller. There are national borders between the two, and that's why international trade finance. The seller does not want to sell without some kind of upfront guarantee or a payment because the buyer is in another country, and hence you involve seller's bank and buyer's bank, and then there are customs and there's a simplified representation. This shipping company, buyer and seller make a purchase agreement. Buyer wants to give a guarantee to the seller and hence requests a letter of credit. Open trade finance is very, very less. Letters of credit, letters of guarantee, open LC, closed LC, factoring, all those things is very common in international trade, and direct payment hardly happens. So buyer asks its bank to provide a guarantee to the seller's bank. This is called a letter of credit. Buyer's bank issues a letter of credit to the seller's bank. The seller's bank advises the LC to the seller saying, I guarantee that you would get the payment. You basically send the product to customs for clearance. Custom clears it. Cleared products go to the shipping company. Shipping company creates a particular document and replicate called Bill of Lading or BOL. That basically is, apart from LC, is the master document and a proof that something has been shipped by the seller. Product gets shipped and goes to the other country. The bill of lading or the trade documents, the seller presents to its bank. The bank goes ahead and makes the payment. The seller sells these physical documents in a physical form, courier form, to the buyer's bank. Buyers gives it to the buyer. Buyer in the meanwhile has collected the shipment, has the third copy of the LC, matches it and pays to its bank. The buyer's bank, through a nostro-vostro arrangement, pays it to the seller's bank. The payment is complete. This is the current process. Now let's look at with blockchain. If we put blockchain, we can basically have the trade documents or the LC instead of physical form completely on blockchain. You do not need to send the physical bill of lading and the LC advice across. While LC is still a digital document, the BOL is a physical document. All of that on a common network, on a blockchain network. And a lot of countries have done that. Singapore and Hong Kong have created national networks for taking care of this. And billions of dollars of LCs are going through this process. You can also use smart contracts and automatically trigger payments in flow numbers 10, 14, and 15. And in fact, you don't need the payments in that order. as soon as the bill of lading or the trade document is generated, within a few minutes, the seller can be paid and the buyer can pay it out, because buyer has a proof of payment or can part pay. And smart contracts can play a big role in that. So this is the process that can, in a very simplified form, be used on using blockchain. Blockchain provides a single view of data in real time across all parties. And when we say real time, with a lag of few minutes, reduces time significantly. If you look at it, in this process, it takes about 3 months, if everything goes well, for the LC documents and the trade documents to be exchanged across the 4 corners: the buyer, the seller, the seller's bank, and the buyer's bank. Number 1. Number 2, a lot of fraud is possible. You can forge bills of lading. You can forge LCs in case physical LCs are still being used. You can duplicate bills of lading and can get duplicate LCs or duplicate payments from different banks. Reduces paperwork, protection against tampering of documents. You can do further automation through smart contracts. Conflicts are easier to resolve. Now, you'd realize that blockchain is a social concept. It's not, you can't do it alone. You can't have a blockchain for yourself, right? And hence a lot of industry consortia have emerged. For example, IBM is instrumental in creating VTrade, where some of the large banks like UniCredit, Rabo, SocGen, CXIA, Santander, etc. there. Marco Polo, which is R3 on Corda, along with a technology company called TradeIX, where Bangkok Bank is there, DNB is there, BNP Paribas is there, OP Financials from Finland is there, StanChart is there. Another one that Hyperledger and IBM are created is Batavia. And then R3 has created one with Crypto BLK, primarily for Far East and US and Canada. Scotia Bank is there, Bank of Nova Scotia, CTBC Bank is there, ING, BBVA, and so on and so forth. So I'd like to pause for a moment and see if you have any questions with respect to international trade finance. So the next use case, syndicated loans servicing. These loans are huge loans. The current process is there's a borrower which has a requirement for a multi-million, multi-billion kind of a loan. Let's say it approaches a Bank of America, that Bank of America lends $100 million to the borrower, let's say Apple, at X% interest, and has all the records in its database. Now, Bank of America, for its own reasons, does not want to partake this complete 100 million. It is a strong bank. It has negotiated very good terms, and it has potential to refinance this. In insurance terms, it's called refinancing. In loans, it's called selling the loan. So, and there's a collateral or security that Apple provides. Now, what the bank Bank of America does is it basically goes to US Bank, it goes to Truist Bank, it goes to Fifth Third Bank of Northern Kentucky, and offers part of this loan at interest rates that are kind of favorable to it. And because those banks cannot get loans, those loans cannot sell those loans directly to Apple, and at those terms, they buy part of this loan. This is called primary market. These banks then can on-sell part of these loans in secondary market to other banks. When Apple pays interest and principal, the agent bank, Bank of America, does manual calculations and splits repayments across the network and releases part of collateral or security. And part of that, proportional parts of that collateral or security is liened to the participant banks according to their internal arrangements. So this is the current process. The pain points: the agent bank, Bank of America, keeps tracks of all the participants, their interest rates, each of them are negotiated interest rates, negotiated over phone, and their respective shares. Agent bank calculates, and then there are sub-agents. As you realize, Bank 1 and Bank 3 in this scenario are sub-agents. They have manual decisions on payments, and the process is prone to errors. US Bank, for example, would have, just to give you a sense, when Apple wants $1 billion loans, it takes it from Chase, it takes it from JP Morgan Chase is one, it takes it from Bank of America, it takes it from Mizuho Bank, right? And all these banks on-sell to different banks. So US Bank may actually be taking part loan from Bank of America, another part from Mizuho Bank, another part from Chase, JP Morgan Chase, right? And hence, it's a very, very complex calculation. You have to keep a track of collateral and security. All parties have to rely on the agent's database, and they have different views of data at different times. All these are paper-based engagements. All of them, because they're multi-million and most of times going to billions, are legal documents. Rules of engagement are difficult to maintain, in fact. With blockchain, when the agent bank syndicates in the primary market with Bank 1, Bank 2, and Bank 3, you create a private blockchain. Everybody has the same data. You include the borrower also. Collateral information is also on the blockchain. Loan repayment conditions are logged on the blockchain and are encoded in the smart contract. Agent bank can extend the network to the new participants that have come in through the secondary market, and the smart contract gets updated. Hence, there's an automation on payment on collaterals, share distribution, reduces manual interventions. So this is a very good example. A lot of this happens through packages. Nobody does it through custom applications. So Loan Fusion is an example of a product from Finestra that kind of does this work and has incorporated blockchain in its ways of working. So you reduce the manual interventions, authentication of documentation is there. You can't repudiate the transactions. They are stored in an immutable database. You validate each transaction through consensus, and the agent bank's power is significantly reduced because you are on peer-to-peer network. Your transactions are tamper-proof. You have traceability of transactions from their genesis and reduced paperwork. So those were two use cases from finance. Would want to take a little pause and see if there are any questions on the syndicated loans. The examples of other finance related use cases. You have cross-border payments. That's another big use case, and Ripple blockchain network is being used in a very big manner on cross-border payments. All the Vostro Nostro networks are getting reduced, and Ripple has become a multi-billion-dollar organization based on this. Lending platforms, investments, record keeping, stock exchanges where there are multiple parties, IPOs, keeping credit scores, investment management, reduction of frauds because you have the complete traceability. KYC today, not only each bank does its own KYC processing. If you approach a bank at slightly different times for different businesses, for example, opening a savings bank account, opening a business account, taking a loan, you would need to do KYC again and again. And blockchain, there can be central KYC providers that can basically provide the KYC. Interbank transactions is another big area for finance. So those were some of the examples. Moving on to a couple of use cases in insurance. There is a new and emerging field in insurance that I took today for explaining insurance use cases. There's something called parametric insurance. Parametric insurance is not a payment that is not based on actual loss or pure loss. It's based on occurrence of a triggering event or a parameter. So, for example, if you say that rainfall is a key determinant of success of wheat crop, and if your rainfall in any month goes above 200 mm in that particular area, your crop is likely to get destroyed or is sure to be destroyed. We are talking of a scenario like this, or let's say there's a earthquake or on Richter scale, anything less than more than 7.5 would destroy this and this asset. You can basically apply parametric insurance there. It can apply to crop insurance, home insurance, flight delay, etc. Now let's look at parametric insurance for crop. The current process, and I'm talking of developed world, most other economies, and not like Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, which are very new and not very effective today, but are on their way. So there's a farmer, there's an insurance, and there are independent agents. Farmer talks to the insurance agent, decides on the policy. The agent files the insurance with the insurer along with all the paperwork. Farmer pays premium to the insurance. Agents pay to the insurance company. Calamity happens. Farmer provides proof to the agent. Agent forwards the proof to the insurer. Insurer pays to the farmer through the agent. That's the process today. Now, Mayank sir, quick question: have the participants been taught about oracles?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll then talk about oracles as well. Okay, so how does it happen on on blockchain? Okay, before that, I'll talk about Oracle. And Oracle, a blockchain typically is a self-sufficient system. It's a closed system. It does not interact very well. It's an insular system, does not interact very well with the outside world, except for transactions as an input that goes into the blockchain, and any output that basically through an API can be extracted and shown or analyzed. So there's an input-output mechanism. Oracle is a concept that is developed to make sure that external inputs of reference nature can be provided to blockchain. So as an example, let's say I want to automate Nifty futures, right? In NSE stock exchange. I buy a Nifty future and I say if Nifty goes to 15,000 within this time frame, then I would get this much money. Otherwise, I'd lose so much money. In this scheme of things, you would need to refer to the Nifty value, which is sensitive index of NSE of the top 50 stocks, and is published every 15 seconds by NSE-IT of India, right? So Oracle technology is built specifically to take inputs like this in blockchain. Oracle is an external application which provides reference data to blockchain on demand. Okay, so Oracle could be a weather channel, for example. AccuWeather.com could be a good Oracle that provides you weather for Jaipur city. You can check every 1 hour, just as an example, right? There are oracles that have been developed. So parametric insurance works on oracles. You basically, insurers put their insurance schemes on blockchain. They publish it on blockchain. There are smart contracts. The oracle provides regular updates to the smart contract on blockchain. There is a polling mechanism or push mechanism that is built in through various technologies. Farmer chooses an insurance policy. Farmer pays premium through the smart contract to the insurer. Natural calamity happens. Oracle has been monitoring natural calamities. It basically provides that input to the smart contract. The smart contract has already a funding mechanism or a direct mechanism with the insurance company or insurance company's bank, and an automated payment is triggered when the threshold is achieved. This is how parametric insurance, crop insurance, can be automated and is being automated through blockchain. The advantages are obvious: reduce middlemen, reduce paperwork, great amount of automation. For example, Germany-based EtherISK company, Ethereum-based crop insurance solution, it has developed for automatically making payments in case of droughts or floods. Any questions, comments on crop insurance?
Perfectly fine, sir. Please proceed.
Another example of a parametric insurance, flight delay insurance. I took this example because without blockchain, while crop insurance is a big area, flight insurance, flight delay insurance is not a big area and is practically a micro payment. it has developed of late and can be enhanced and implemented through blockchain. So I would describe directly the process on blockchain, similar to whatever is there. Insurer puts the flight delay insurance through blockchain. There is an Oracle that kind of is a public database for flight schedules and regular updates. Consumer chooses a flight delay insurance at the time of ticket booking and pays a one-time premium. Flight is delayed, the Oracle notes it down, the smart contract is already funded, and automatic payment is triggered when threshold is achieved. These are not large payments, but they're large in number, right? And hence, the processing is costly. Assume Indigo, if it has to field, let's say during winter, every flight in Delhi due to fog is delayed for more than 5 hours. Indigo, having its hub in Delhi, probably has to take more than 1 lakh calls for the claims on that particular day. All of that can be automated through this scheme. It's a transparent insurance, no necessity of presenting proofs, calling, getting updates, automation. When threshold is achieved, when flight is delayed beyond 5 hours, for example, claims is directly deposited. AXA had provided this called Fizzy. Automated claims were getting settled for Lufthansa by more than 2 hours, for flight delays more than 2 hours. For some reason, Lufthansa has not continued with it and withdrew it in early part of this year. There can be multiple block use cases: fraud prevention, P&C insurance, health insurance, micro insurance, reinsurance, life insurance, on-demand insurance, peer-to-peer. KYC again can be done here. Underwriting automatically can be done in insurance. Again, I want to take kind of a pause here and see if there are any questions in those detailed examples. Any questions, comments, sir?
So there is a query which says, is there any academics management?
So MIT, for one of its batches, awarded degrees directly on blockchain. Awarding degrees and credentials and storing marks on blockchain is a very big use case and is implemented in a lot of places across. Government of India is currently debating whether to implement such a use case across India, or they want to continue to use DigiLocker, which does not have much automation, but great storage and privacy capabilities for this purpose. I had personally met the chairman of AICTE to put this proposal there. Yes, so there are a number of use cases in education. Again, because blockchain is a horizontal technology, it can be used everywhere. And the only limitation of applying blockchain in any space whatsoever is, one is you understand those limitations and the properties of blockchain, and second is your imagination. So listed here are some of the common use cases. You of course can store education certificates, degrees, automate them, bring in certain amount of intelligence within them. You can provide decentralized educational products. The tutoring space, the Byju's and the Coursera's of the world, there is good space there. You can provide infrastructure security and school admin. You can basically provide some kind of cloud storage, though this is along with some other databases that I talked about. You can store student identity. Student funding can happen through smart contracts, learning marketplace, records management, metadata for libraries, publishing industry, again, a big use case, any kind of public assistance and welfare payments. And there are large such examples in countries like the US can go through blockchain. Cryptocurrency payments is an obvious one. Learning badges can be maintained on blockchain. Financing, ensuring micro credentials can be automated using blockchain. So those are some of the examples of blockchain in education sector. Does that help you understand? Does that help with the question? Have I answered the question, Champak sir? The big subject, and can basically blockchain can come in really handy because auditability is there, public viewing is possible, and customer identity in retail use cases. The big players or the wannabe players can use it for customer identity. Taxation can be easily automated. It's a complex area, and that can be easily automated using blockchains. Fraud and counterfeit goods can be on blockchain. An example, Nestle has come out with a coffee called proof of origin, if I'm not wrong. Proof of origin coffee. It's a very costly coffee. What Nestle does is it publishes on the coffee powder or the coffee beans packet, you have a QR code, and Nestle encourages you to scan that QR code on your smartphone, and using that QR code, you would be able to view on map, on timeline, images and videos of that coffee, how that coffee was grown organically in certain region of Brazil, how those plants became bigger, how the coffee was plugged, coffee beans were plugged, they were processed, they were roasted, they were ground, and which all borders and Nestle plants and warehouses they passed through, which distributor Nestle handed it to. And so that is batch number. Along with the batch number, you can see all of that on your phone. And all of that has been implemented using blockchain. Okay. Consumer demand contracts, product contracts, micropayments, loyalty programs is another big example of blockchain. Digital marketing authentication. So there's a lot of fraud that happens in blockchain space and in marketing space, sorry, and advertising space. And ad tech is a big consumer. There are a few friends of mine who in New York have a company that kind of eliminates frauds in digital marketing and ads using blockchain. So these are examples where blockchain can be used in retail space. I understand there was a question on earlier on retail space, retail and logistics, and how blockchain can be used in this. This kind of is my answer to that question. Wanted to ask if that question has been answered. Okay, sir. I'm assuming Sivanarayan sir had that question. This company called Votes that so vote, and we've seen this in this year's US presidential election. The ballot votes make a huge difference, and it takes time to count them because it takes time to have them transport, and you have to follow all the timelines. There's a company called Votes that's doing some pioneering work and has implemented this in 3 different states in the US. It is also being implemented in the public elections, general elections in Russia, where the remote voting of military personnel who are stationed outside of their home state is being done using that particular application. And blockchain provides the necessary infrastructure along with mobile phones. Fertilizer subsidy, India has experimented with fertilizer subsidy, and Niti Aayog report has a great example there. Government records in Dubai, for example, UAE and Dubai are getting completely on blockchain, and the government of Dubai hopes to implement blockchain-based government record systems for about $2 billion, and their saving estimates are about $20 billion. Vinay Gupta, a well-known expert in the space of blockchain, has laid down the roadmap. Corruption, obviously, can be reduced. Taxation, transparent budgeting, all kinds of identity management and attestation can happen through blockchain. Secure data entry, welfare distribution is happening through blockchain. Digitized IDs, UNO and UNESCO have been working in this space along with World Economic Forum. Government healthcare services are being digitized and put on blockchain. Governments of Telangana, Karnataka, government of Andhra, government of Rajasthan have done some pioneering work in it. Cyber protection is a big area. Social security and safety is another big area. Enforcement of legal contracts, national digital currencies I talked about, and so on and so forth. Similarly, healthcare has also a lot of such areas. Real estate, my PhD subject, there's quite a bit of blockchain in there. It's a big spender and hence big ticket item on blockchain. So I had a company called SKR Technology, and we run a very popular websites called blockdigest.com and blockdigest.thinkific.com, where we have unique training models. Our founders are experienced in Infosys, Wipro, ICICI Bank. They come from pedigree schools. We provide training courses on blockchain for leaders and entrepreneurs, certified blockchain professional, cryptocurrency, individual blockchain stacks. We specialize in Bitcoin, in Ethereum, in Hyperledger Fabric, in multi-chain, in Zcash, and in Ripple. We help you learn certified smart contract development, certified cryptocurrency development. We help you through, and there is a very popular internship for engineering students as well. This is how you can contact us.
Managed session. If the platform is open for queries, then Kanika shall present the thanks, and we will have a group photograph also.